Copenhagen, Denmark was the site of the United Nations World Summit for Social Development and NGO Forum 95. The Baha'i international community and the Baha'is of Denmark collaborated in the coordination of a massive effort, which gained accreditation for 24 national Baha'i delegations to the summit meeting, and the active participation of some 250 Baha'is from more than 40 countries in the associated NGO Forum. The summit brought together 116 heads of state, 4,700 government officials representing all 185 member states of the United Nations, and the representatives of some 1,400 non-governmental organizations. This represents a new level of universal participation in a world-embracing consultative process that is gradually helping to shape an emerging global consensus about the problems of social development in the world.
Over a century ago, Baha'u'llah issued to the peoples of the world an appeal which is of particular significance to all of us gathered here today at the World Summit for Social Development and the NGO Forum. Be anxiously concerned, he urged, with the needs of the age ye live in, and center your deliberations on its exigencies and requirements. Be united in counsel, be one in thought.
The Baha'i international community was one of just 3 non-governmental organizations to present a statement to the plenary session on the opening day of the summit.
The principle of the oneness of humanity must be wholeheartedly embraced by those in whose hands the responsibility for decision-making rests, and its related tenets, including the concept of world citizenship, must be propagated through both educational systems and the media.
Thank you.
More than 40,000 copies of Baha'i statements were given out in at least 6 languages during the 10 days of the event, including 1,000 copies of The Prosperity of Humankind, which were delivered directly to UN and government officials.
The call is for unity in diversity.
Baha'i youth brought tremendous energies and organizational skills to the summit, taking a leadership role in the International Youth Consultation, the Youth Caucus, the Interreligious Project on Conflict Resolution, and the conceptualization and drafting of the Copenhagen Youth Document.
We've had the opportunity to chair and offer resource people for a number of working groups and also to chair the plenary session. And many Baha'i ideas have been able to be introduced into the consultation by these means.
This gavel will leave the Bella Center and will arrive to the NGO Forum in
Baha'is also conceived and helped organize the symbolic passing of the gavel from the World Summit meeting, representing the authority of national governments to the participants of the NGO Forum in recognition of the importance of yielding power to the people and of working together for the welfare of all.
Okay, thank you. I think it's really nice that the hammer has partly turned into a flower. I think this is very symbolic that official hammers, they are more or less now tulips.
Through displays, symposia, embassy receptions, press briefings, national consultations, drafting sessions, and caucuses, the Baha'is were able to further the recognition and common acceptance of important spiritual principles, essential for social integration and development.
Here in Denmark, I think that the Baha'is really have come out of obscurity. They are known now. They're mentioned in the newspaper, that we are even quoted as a major international organization.
The Baha'i community of Denmark has made a profound contribution by providing the infrastructure from hospitality to meals to information packets to involvement in all these activities here to logistics for the many events taking place. They have shown that a community that has never had to do something like this can rise up the heights which were unimaginable even a year ago.
Some 1,000 high officials at the summit were present as the renowned Norwegian opera singer Annelise Berntsen sang selections from the Baha'i sacred writings, set to music by her fellow countryman and longtime Baha'i, Professor Lasse Thoresen. Professor Thoresen is recognized as one of the leading composers in Scandinavia. His most recent composition, entitled Carmel Eulogies, was commissioned to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the Oslo Philharmonic Orchestra. This symphonic poem in 2 movements has strong musical roots in traditional Norwegian folk melodies, using microtonal scales and natural harmonic structures to evoke a sense of the mystic dialogue in Baha'u'llah's Tablet of Carmel.
The starting point for the piece is the text of the Tablet of Carmel, and I simply use different sections. I have also used some melodies, melodic functions, and scales from Norwegian folk music.
The gala premiere, conducted by Michael Stern at the Oslo Concert Hall, was broadcast live on radio and became the subject of a documentary on Norwegian television. Many reviews took positive note of the connections to the Baha'i revelation and how these themes related to the musical language, which was described as both highly original and uniquely Norwegian in character. At Resvan, the Universal House of Justice announced the formation of new national spiritual assemblies in Georgia and Armenia in Asia, Belarus and Sicily in Europe, and in Eritrea in East Africa. In addition, the political unification of South Africa resulted in the formation of one national spiritual assembly for Bophuthatswana, Ciskei, South Africa, and Transkei, bringing the total number of national Baha'i assemblies to 174. In Washington, the National Spiritual Assembly accepted an offer from the Congressional Human Rights Caucus to mount a display entitled Defending Religious Liberty in the rotunda of the Cannon Congressional Office Building, just across the street from the Capitol.
Well, Mrs. Tom Lantos gave the National Spiritual Assembly the suggestion to have the exhibit in the rotunda. And when we received that idea, we jumped on it.
Representative John Porter, a longtime friend of the faith, arranged formal sponsorship.
The rotunda is a noble edifice. It has loftiness, it has nobility in it, and our message is about a very noble and lofty theme.
The circular exhibit moved through the early history of the Baha'i persecutions in Iran, highlighted the wave of intense persecutions following the Iranian Revolution, documented congressional responses, actions of the executive branch and other national and international agencies, introduced the Baha'i community in America and around the world, and concluded with a moving portrayal of religious freedom as a sacred trust of civilization. The National Spiritual Assembly attended the opening and hosted a special reception to honor 2 distinguished members of Congress for their devotion to human rights.
It is my pleasure to present, on behalf of the National Assembly of the Baha'is of the United States, to Representative Gilman, the Baha'i Humanitarian Award.
My work with the American Baha'i community over the years has been extremely gratifying to me. I've always regarded the Baha'is as a special people because despite the hardships, despite the oppressions they've endured over the years, the Baha'is have been able to maintain their commitment to tolerance and understanding among all people. It's been a genuine pleasure to have been able to work with members of the Baha'i faith in our nation and elsewhere on human rights issues affecting members of the Baha'i faith.
15 years ago, The American Baha'is, through their elected administrators, came to the United States Congress in anguish and in hope. For the government of Iran had initiated...
Judge James Nelson, chairman of the National Spiritual Assembly, expressed appreciation for congressional efforts on behalf of the Baha'is in Iran.
Hearings were held, facts were found, great bipartisan support was mustered, and 6 concurrent resolutions demanding an end to the persecution in Iran and the emancipation of the Baha'i community there were passed. We now return in gratitude for this continuing support.
As chairman of the House Committee on Foreign Affairs, Mr. Hamilton unfailingly championed human rights and helped...
The second Baha'i Humanitarian Award was presented to Representative Lee Hamilton.
Your continued leadership in the fight to end human rights and human rights abuses in Iran, and your efforts for world peace are an inspiration to me. I paused for just a moment as I came up here to read quickly that marvelous display that you put into the foyer here of the Canon Office building. And it gives us in a very quick thumbnail sketch of the history of your community and the suffering that they have endured. So you do me great honor tonight by giving me this award, but really it is I who must honor you, because you have set the pace for us and set the example for us in holding up human rights, fighting for human rights and world peace. Thank you very, very much.
As shown in the exhibit, many congressmen who have been involved with the Baha'i search for human rights in Iran, and the tragedy of the Iranian Baha'is has drawn us closer to this second branch of government in a way that I think was truly not envisioned even a short time ago.
So we stand with you. We want to continue to work with you. We know that resolutions won't make a difference in and of themselves, but pressure, public opinion, national focus, raising the issues in every single form will make a difference. And we believe that the people of the Baha'i faith, who, as I said, are people of peace, good citizenship, community involvement, are people that share the values that this country stands for. We should stand with them every single moment. Thank you for listening to me.
The Voice of America was also present, providing coverage for its worldwide radio broadcasts.
There were people from the State Department, there were people from the press, and many representatives of the various human rights organizations, people from the American Bar Association who deal with international relations and human rights, and from Amnesty International, from many organizations.
The exhibit and reception represent a culmination of nearly 15 years of concentrated effort to build relationships with the political and human rights leadership in the United States. The fruit of this work is evident in the ongoing commitment to protect the persecuted Baha'is in Iran, and in the growing respect being paid to the Baha'i community and the teachings that guide it. The Baha'i faith spreads through organized efforts to share the teachings of Baha'u'llah with all segments of the human family. This process depends heavily on the energies of the youth and takes many forms. We have 3 reports. The hilly rainforests of the Huasteca Potosina area are home to the Tenec and Nahuatl Indians, 2 of the more than 60 indigenous groups that comprise about 30% of the population of Mexico. Since the 1970s, Baha'i teachers have visited the villages around Wichi-Wayan. Over the years, about 150 people embraced the faith, forming 5 local spiritual assemblies. During the first 2 years of the 3-year plan, the Compañía Continua has organized groups of youth to help with further teaching and community development work in the area.
I want 2 people who will work with me, and people who are working with didactic materials will work with me personally. I'll tell you what I expect from
This group of 37 American youth are the 9th contingent to visit the area during the present plan. They travel 9 hours by bus from McAllen, Texas, to reach the market town of Wichi-Wayan. From there, groups set out on foot, walking up to 4.5 hours to reach the outlying villages in the area. The youth spend up to 80% of their time in activities designed to help consolidate and develop the communities.
Tú eres el fuerte y el poderoso. Muy bien.
Children's classes are popular in the villages.
Mira, qué bonito. ¿Lo hiciste solita? Te quedó muy bien. Órale.
Adult Baha'is welcome the opportunity for sharing prayers and study of the Baha'i writings. Hospitality for the visitors is provided in the homes of about 20 different local Baha'is. 15 years of loving and sustained effort has helped to establish the core elements of the community. Receptiveness has increased accordingly, and in just 2 years, the Baha'i community in this area has tripled in size to more than 500 believers. Wollongong is a modern city of over 200,000 people located about an hour south of Sydney in New South Wales. Here, the energies of Baha'i youth from all over Australia have been focused in an attempt to bring the teachings of the faith to the attention of the entire population. 150 Baha'is spent 16 days in study and spiritual preparation.
Confer a new spirit upon all people and cause them to unite in harmony, so that they may become as the rays of one sun.
A service project designed to help restore the environment attracted the attention of the media.
It's very much a process of personal development for all the members involved. The group is a very hyped and spiritually oriented group, you know. The people that are acting pretty much selflessly. They're giving up their time and making sacrifices to come and add something to the community.
What I've found most satisfying in working with the Baha'is is their attitude that work is worship, and their very practical approach to life, and their preparedness to lead by example. I also love the attitude where all people are equal, and there's young people and old people and men and women all working together, and there has never been a crossword, lots of singing and happiness, and I think for that reason I really enjoyed this, and it was a great pleasure to me, and it's given me a lot of inspiration.
The audacious youth delivered 60,000 invitations to homes throughout the city, drawing hundreds of inquirers to the Baha'i Center.
It's like I've met what I have believed via a teaching. So it's always been with me right from the beginning, because I was brought up in a religious family. So I saw the aspect of how one applied talking but not the walking. So that's been a major factor. And to see the children actually applying the principles of oneness and unity, and to feel the spirit of that really took me in.
We have seen a dynamic involvement by Baha'i people who have this sense of tranquility and kindness and genuineness, which is most unique for any community. And that was very attractive, and I wanted to be a part of it, and I'm very, very proud to be a Baha'i.
In Texas, 12 communities in the greater Houston area have joined forces in a bold and energetic effort to awaken and inform their fellow citizens of the coming of Baha'u'llah.
There should not be any obstacle for us to teach. Don't stop and do it any which way that you can. Raise the call, tell all people around you, about you, travel, tell with abandon about Baha'u'llah.
According to early reports, teaching teams working out of the Houston Baha'i Center and newly opened teaching centers in Sugar Land, the Woodlands, and Pasadena have helped bring several hundred people to acknowledge the advent of this new age. The Baha'i Academy in Panchgani, India, was established in 1992 to offer advanced studies in the Baha'i teachings. It offers a variety of courses for youth, pioneers, and members of various institutions. 62 participants from 9 countries of the Commonwealth of Independent States, Mongolia, and China attended the 4th Russian language course of the Academy, designed especially for auxiliary board members and members of the rapidly developing national and regional spiritual assemblies in those regions. The subjects of the intensive 15-day course included Baha'i administration, entry by troops, consultation, the Kitabi Aqdas, the 19-day feast, external affairs, the 3-year plan, and the World Order of Baha'u'llah. Workshops on teaching institutes, children's classes, and the publication of national bulletins and newsletters gave practical advice in how to organize the work and develop the human resources of the community. Construction is underway on a new building which will house the Academy, providing classrooms, dormitory rooms, the largest Baha'i library in Asia, and all the other facilities required for an emerging regional center of higher learning.
Where does it hurt? Here? There? Where? It hurts in the soles of my feet. For I cannot walk another mile, so tired am I of man's inhumanity to man.
The searching exploration of the principle of the equality of the sexes is a continuous development process in the Baha'i community. For American Baha'is, an important step was taken in the Conference on Women in Baha'i Perspective, sponsored by the Institute for Baha'i Studies in Evanston, Illinois.
The teachings of Baha'u'llah radically changed the importance placed on the role of women, both at home and in society.
Women all over the world share these concerns, talk the same language, have the same fears, the same aspirations, the same hearts as those of us here tonight.
The transformational effects of the gathering have been amplified through the publication to date of at least 5 thoughtful and well-researched papers presented at the conference.
Quote, "When men own the equality of women," states Abdu'l-Baha, "there will be no need for them," meaning the women, "to struggle for their rights," end quote.
It's the Festival of Rezvan, commemorating the events in 1863 when Baha'u'llah left his house in Baghdad, crossing the Tigris River to the island site of his public declaration in the Garden of Rezvan. Baha'is in this suburb of Chapel Hill made creative use of a nearby stream to create a stylized yet reverent reenactment of some of the events associated with that momentous occasion.
April 22nd, 1863, Baha'u'llah departed from his house. The commotion his departure created was unlike any the city had ever seen before.
It has been a sense of our communities for a long time that to develop Baha'i culture, we need to really put a lot more into the thought, the preparation for our holy days. It's taken us about 3 months to do the research of the Baha'i sacred writings, to put together appropriate music, to find logistical people, camera people, musicians, stage set design folks, and ordinary costumes. The Friends have been very helpful in putting this together. And we are doing this in honor of Baha'u'llah. It is our hope and our aspiration that we can pay suitable homage as we remember him on these very sacred holy days.
Top United Nations officials, ambassadors, religious leaders, and other dignitaries gathered in San Francisco to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations in that city in June of 1945. The spiritual heart of the commemorations was an interfaith service held in Grace Cathedral.
50 years ago, the world was tired of war, tired of poverty, and tired of injustice. The United Nations was born to reject a culture of death and to create a culture of life, a culture of peace.
Baha'is serving on the organizing committee helped craft the beautiful program of music, reading, hymns, and pageantry, designed to create a sense of the sacred nature and importance of binding together the nations of the world. The one formal prayer offered during the service was this prayer for unity by Abdu'l-Baha, which was printed in English translation in the program. The UN Secretary General reportedly singled out the chanting of this prayer as a very important part of the commemoration.
It says in the Baha'i writings that this is the time of the greatest maturity of the human race, because at no point in our history have we had an opportunity to look at the earth as one country and consider ourselves as citizens of a single country.
The San Francisco Baha'i Center was a beehive of activity for 9 days. A special exhibition entitled The Vision of World Unity was produced by the Baha'i International Community. The Consul General of China and 2 diplomats from Latin America were among the distinguished visitors who attended the exhibit. A forum on global governance amplified the themes of the exhibition. Participants included Mrs. Mildred Mataheta, who was present at the original signing of the UN Charter 50 years ago in San Francisco, and subsequently served for many years as the first Baha'i representative at the United Nations.
The United States and the world did not know much about the United Nations. So with Mrs. Roosevelt, we started the Speakers Research Committee for the United Nations. And it was to send speakers everywhere to teach them about this young organization. And Mrs. Roosevelt was the chairman and I was the secretary. And so we contacted all sorts of people, asking them to speak and go here and go there and go there, and most of the prominent people at the UN, and I knew them all.
Baha'is in the Bay Area have been active in the planning of the UN 50 events for several years. Close collaboration at the local, national, and international levels characterized the planning of activities, which impressively demonstrate the creative power of unity in action. For every conscientious Baha'i, the speedy progress of the projects to construct the permanent seats to house the international institutions of the faith is a matter of paramount interest and importance. Together with the construction of the 18 magnificent terraces above and below the Shrine of the Baha, these great projects will stand for centuries to come as one of the most significant developments in the closing years of this millennium. With the project proceeding at top speed in all these areas, the need for funds outstripped the flow of worldwide contributions, creating a shortfall of $40 million and a potential crisis at the World Center. The Universal House of Justice responded by sending one of its members, Mr. Ali Nakhjavani, to visit the believers in several countries in Europe and North America.
We heard from Ruhiya Khanum that there was a piano teacher in Chicago, and she made regular contributions for the temple in Wilmette. Ruhiya Khanum said that her mother, Mrs. Maxwell, went to this dear lady and told her, "Have you seen the temple?" She said, "No." "But why?" she asked. "Oh, I cannot afford it." So Mrs. Maxwell took her herself to Wilmette. And as soon as she saw this beautiful temple, she said, "Oh, my darling, this is love. This is consecration. This is self-sacrifice. This is the component that we have to add to our contribution."
During the strenuous 35-day trip, the representative of the House of Justice met about 15,000 of the Friends in dozens of gatherings, large and small.
It is the hope of the House of Justice that the ARC project in all its phases will be completed by the end of this century. This is the present plan.
On 2 occasions, many communities who could not reach the meetings joined in to listen live via an audio teleconference.
I am telling you, friends, with the decision of the House of Justice that the members should come to North America and Europe, excuse me to put it in these words, but they are, by this very action, by virtue of this decision, they are inflicting a test on you. That's what it is. You are being confronted with a test. I hate to put it in those words, but believe me, this is the real truth. You have to say, all right, here I am, a believer in Baha'u'llah, a lover of Baha'u'llah. What am I going to do?
The response to the message was an immediate commitment through contributions, firm pledges, and donations in kind of the entire $40 million, which will, when fulfilled, ensure that the work on the mountain of God can proceed without interruption or delay.
Carmel, in the Book of God, hath been designated as the hill of God, as his vineyard. It is here that by the grace of the Lord of Revelation, the tabernacle of glory hath been raised. Happy are they that attain thereunto. Happy they that set their faces towards it.
in adoration. Circle round your Lord. Circle round in adoration.